Live from Ingersoll.
History will date me. It'll be brought to you by Kraft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure it's not Oscar Mayer.
We're live.
We are live.
That's what
Good
they
evening,
said. My
folks.
window.
Good evening, everyone out there this evening. Welcome to this regular meeting of council. It's our for November 14th, 2020 at 6 p.m. I'm going to ask now for a call to order, but before that, I will ask if there are councillors out there that wish to make comment, and I believe that Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens had indicated earlier on, along with, I believe, Councillor Petrie and Councillor Lesser. So, Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, would you please take the mic?
Thank you, Your Worship. I have quite a few announcements. I've been remiss in acknowledging, I guess, some other service groups within our community, and I apologize for that, but I will put it out there publicly that if other service organizations would like some announcements done, I'm more than happy to bring them before council at a council meeting. So the Lions Club is doing a bottle drive, and you can text Lisa Visser at 519-535-7808. Of course, Lions Club is trying to bring money into their organization to help our community as well. So if you have extra bottles, that would be great. To fill the void left by the parade not happening and Girl Guides and that kind of thing not collecting, and I apologize, not collecting socks and scarves and gloves and that kind of thing, they are accepting those things. So new gloves, socks, and scarves, hats can be dropped off at any time to 121 Whiting Street. They have a covered porch, or on November 21st, you can take them into Jay's Active Health and Wellness place at 110 Thames Street South. So that's for them. The Senior Center is doing a great auction starting on November 23rd to the 28th. Please get a hold of them. They've also got a raffle, Christmas raffle happening. They've bought their license from us, and their tickets are $20 each, or 3 for $50. They're obviously doing a little bit different from their bazaar this year than they did last year. So good for them that they figured out how to do that. And by all means, look them up on the web and find out more about what they have to offer. And then the Kiwanis is starting their Coats for Families this week. If you have donations to give, you can take them to Young's Pharmacy. You can also drop them off at the church, Trinity United Church, Tuesday and Thursday between 9 and 12, or you can bring them to my front porch. It's starting to get filled up out there. It's a good thing I did a renovation and got a bigger porch. And I'm at 158 Margaret Street. And of course, our Rural Urban, if you have not gotten your tickets yet, please do so. They are good. The coupons are good for 8 restaurants in our town until the end of November. If you've already bought your tickets, thank you very much for doing them. Now go out and use those coupons and use them at the restaurants that are on the list. And because that's the whole program. We wanted to put money back into the restaurants here in our community. So that was my quick spiel. I apologize for taking so long, and I'll let somebody else do their thing now. Thank you.
That's terrific. No, thank you very much, Councillor. Great information to have on our service clubs, because all of them are really doing the best they can under the circumstances for our community. Councillor Petrie, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to give the public and council an update on Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. The government in their budget have introduced some new measures to do with the Conservation Act that fundamentally changes the conservation makeup and the board makeup. A couple of highlights there is that all members will have to be municipal councillors. They will no longer be able to act in the best interest of the authority, but will be mandated to act in the best interest of their municipality. And there will be, the government has the ability to appoint a member from the agricultural community to the board. This affects our board makeup extensively. We'd instantly lose 6 members of highly skilled and qualified members on the board. So these changes are concerning on some level, on most levels. as far as a governance structure. Also, there will be many changes to the planning part of it, where most things will now be instantly able to go to the LPAT, which should back that up even more. So if you have a chance, check out the legislative changes and look at Conservation Ontario for more of an update on that. They're trying to get their heads around it and see what's coming. It's changing every day. So, but those are the highlights of it.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Lesser?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to update some people because we've been having lots of questions as to what's happening with Moonlight Madness. And of course, we can't have a large festival downtown. So the BIA has changed it to a week-long event. You'll start to see advertising has been going out about it. What will happen for people is simply check on the BIA website, the different merchants, what specials they're running, whether it may change every day or the same special for the whole week or so. They will be highlighted on our website. That's the easiest way to check it out. Again, sorry that we can't do something Thursday night for the people, but we figured this is the next best solution, and I'm just going to make a plug for it for those of you who have used them and those who haven't. We still will be running our BIA bucks where you're saving 20% on purchasing the dollars, which even though you can't use more than 200 on a sale, if you use that towards a sale plus whatever discount they're offering, you can be looking at saving yourself 30-35% off the retail price of something. So that's going to be the week of the 16th to the 21st. So I hope people will come out, take a look around and take advantage of it and continue to support our downtown as they have very well in the last couple months.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Just a note that I have on our Remembrance Day. We don't want to miss out on the respect that should be given to our vets and those involved with the armed forces that are looking after us all over Canada and around the world, and those certainly that have dedicated their life through certainly through wartime. Just a note that I was thinking at the other day, that how many thousands of people, I think it was 65,000 in the First World War out of Canada, 45,000 of the Second World War, and certainly another 1,000 in the last while with Afghanistan, certainly with Korea and other South Africa, etc. Fatalities. And just, you say that's a large number, but the number is greater than that for two reasons. Number one, the families that it affected. The whole family is affected when a soldier is lost. And the men and women that fell to support Canada and to look after Canada and to keep us safe, we respect phenomenally. The other idea is that many soldiers came home not healthy, physically and mentally, and actually had a tough time for the remainder of their lives, that we must remember them. They may not have fallen in battle, but they certainly deserve no less respect for what they did for us and the pain they went through the remainder of their lives. So on November 11th at 11 o'clock, please, I encourage everyone to give the respect that is deserved to those men and women who have given that great sacrifice. A virtual program was taped last Sunday, and it will be shown by Rogers. It'll also be on, hopefully, we'll be setting that up through Shane, that it will be easily received or what's the word I want to say, Michael? I guess easily be
viewed.
What's that?
Viewed.
Yeah, easily viewed through our website and everything else. We'll have links to be able to put that forward. That information is started to go out today, I believe, and will be going out all day tomorrow, Wednesday, to be able to inform everyone that you can see the program on the 11th. Rogers will be showing it through the day, but not likely at 11 because they are contracted with Woodstock and Tilsonburg, and we will be shortly after that, but it will be able to be viewed on Rogers throughout the day. So all I can say is that it's a sad moment that we cannot in person be able to give the respect that is deserved, but at least at this time frame, we're able to give some sort of program to show our respect and to give what is due to those veterans. Any questions? Certainly to call the Legion or certainly to call the town hall, and I believe that the clerk's department has all the information that is there, and you should be able to have it on our website. I'd like to ask now if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest. Councillor Petrie, I believe you brought forward. Yes, please.
I'd like to declare a pecuniary interest on bylaw 20-5113, the parking permits, as I am a purchaser of those permits.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll move down now to the minutes of October 13th regular meeting of council. Councillor Bowman, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, that the minutes from October 13th, 2020 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented.
Could I have a seconder on that, please? Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, thank you. Those opposed, or comment first, those opposed? Seeing none, that is passed. Moving on to the council committee minutes, Safe Cycling Committee minutes, September 2020. Deputy Mayor Freeman, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself that the minutes from the September 9th, 2020 Ingersoll Safe Cycling Committee be adopted as presented.
I thank you very much. Could I have a seconder on that? Thank you to Councillor Petrie. And discussion? Those opposed? This is passed. Thank you. BIA minutes of September 2020. Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself that the minutes from the September 28th, 2020 BIA meeting be adopted as presented.
Thank you very much. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Lesser, thank you. Discussion? Those opposed? Thank you very much. This is passed. Cheque distribution, September cheque distribution. Councillor Lesser, please.
Moved by myself that the September check distribution be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor. You're Rick, sorry.
You can say it.
Use, thank you very much. And could I have the discussion? Seeing none. Those opposed? This is carried. Thank you very much. Go into special reports. Positions recruitment. Bill, would you take this? Or is it go to the clerk's department?
Actually, I think Curtis Ty, our economic development officer, is going to speak to that. He's been leading that.
Okay, I apologize. I didn't see him there. I do now.
He's snuck in. So there you go.
Good evening, Council. This is an update regarding the Physician Recruitment Committee to accompany a bylaw that you'll consider later this evening. As Council will recall, Deputy Mayor Freeman, Councillors Van Kooten-Bosens and Hughes were appointed to the committee, along with Sandy Jansen, the CEO of the hospital, and Dr. Jay Taylor. Staff had advertised for committee members on the town's website and Facebook page and didn't receive any responses. But through staff's network, the following members indicated an interest in joining the committee: Melanie Everett Rodriguez, a pharmacist in Ingersoll; George Rodriguez, physician. He's a clinician scientist in radiology at the London Regional Cancer Program. He's also an Ingersoll resident. And Stephanie Nevins, the clinic manager at the Ingersoll Nurse Practitioner-led clinic. Should council agree with these members, it would leave one vacancy, which staff will continue to recruit to fill. If anyone with a recruitment or medical background is interested in joining the committee, they can contact me, and I'm happy to answer any of council's questions.
Seeing none, might I ask Councillor Petrie to read the motion?
Yes, Your Worship. Moved by myself that Council receives report A-034-20 as information and appoints the following citizen members to the Physician Recruitment Committee to be confirmed by bylaw 20-5112 at this meeting. Melanie Everett Rodriguez, George Rodriguez, and Stephanie Nevins.
Thank you very much. Could I have a seconder on this? Thank you very much, Councillor Lesser. Comments or discussion? I just have one comment, and that is thank you very much. Look forward to seeing this committee work. I know they're going to be working close with the Oxford County as such, which we should be, because we're all into the same situation as far as the needs for the population of Oxford County to increase their doctors. And I hope the very best, and I just look forward to further information down the road. And Curtis, thank you very much for looking after this.
Thank you.
Is there anyone opposed to this motion? Seeing none, this is passed. Thank you very much. North Oxford Transit System.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's my report. So it's always difficult to bring forward reports when it creates a conflict between the municipality and its partners around the county. But I think sometimes, conflict discussion is necessary to clarify roles and responsibility. So I have laid out the report. I said there's a number of concerns based on the presentation from David Simpson from the county at our last meeting about the North Oxford Transit System. And first and foremost is the legality of the county to undertake such a partnership. The second is the joint service delivery review that took over 1.5 years to complete. The cost implications of this system on taxpayers for Ingersoll, and tied with that, what service enhancements can citizens in Ingersoll expect from this transit system? So first and foremost, when this item came forward, I believe in July of this year, it came as a surprise to a number of us. It hadn't been pre-communicated with any of the area municipalities, to my understanding, other than perhaps the ones that were being consulted in a partnership role. We just completed an 18-month-long process on service delivery review to address the concerns the province had identified. And not once during those discussions was transit mentioned in any shape or format. So that was disappointing that this then would surface out of the blue and have this concern. In July, I did write the county. They had an interim CAO at the time, and he forwarded it to the engineer, where I expressed my concern about the authority under the Municipal Act for the county to undertake such an action. As clearly in the Municipal Act, within Oxford County, transit is a lower tier responsibility. The county, I think at the time, asked that it be discussed with the area municipalities, and I think Mr. Simpson started his process of going around and consulting with municipalities. But as we've seen, he consulted with us on October 20th, but he brought his report forward back the following week at County Council with a recommendation, even though he clearly understood that a staff report from our perspective was coming back before this council made their position known on the transit system. So first and foremost, these are additional costs. And the one thing that I would point out, and again, it's a delicate subject, but one of that I emphasized repeatedly with my peers during the service delivery review is that I had no problems or concerns with municipalities partnering if they found services that they needed that they couldn't afford themselves. But I did take exception to the fact that there was a movement regularly to move services to the county level when only a number of municipalities wanted those services, but everyone would be forced to pay for them. And it shouldn't be spread that way unless there's unanimous consent that that's a service that's widespread and demanded by all municipalities. So I'll give you an example. During the discussion, it came up that some municipalities wanted to have a purchasing coordinator. Other municipalities saw no need to add that level of staffing to their existing. And there was a push back and forth about whether the county could take on that role. And again, a number of us, and there were other CAOs that supported my position, that if you wanted that service at the county level, it should be a pay-for-fee service. It shouldn't be blanket across the county tax levy. And I won't bore council with a long story, but if you can imagine setting up a department with one person, how long that department would stay at one person. So again, circling back to the North Transit System and the legality of the county to undertake such a partnership, my understanding is that Woodstock Council has launched a legal review. And I would say that my recommendation would be that we would support them in that legal review to get a clear understanding of whether or not the county has jurisdiction and whether or not county taxes should be applied to a program that we believe it doesn't have jurisdiction to do so. I'd be happy to answer any questions that council members might have.
If you would raise your hand, then I will direct them forward. I have first one from Councillor Lesser, then Councillor Bowman.
Through you, your worship, to Bill. Bill, reading in your report, you've got that 2 of the 3 participants have already said that they're going to leave the system and not be part of it. So really, with only one area even wanting to do this, are you saying the county is still going to push ahead with this?
Yeah, as through you, Mr. Mayor, as council is well aware, county councillors go and they vote what they believe is in the best interest of the county, not necessarily the municipalities. So even though Zora and Blandford Blenheim local council said they weren't going to participate, I believe their mayors then attended county council and voted in favor of implementing the North Transit System, which meant that we're only going to be now 2 financial partners participating, East Zora Tavistock and the county. And again, it just raises concerns. So the concern would be that, you know, we look at value for the taxpayers in Ingersoll. Some might say it's a small amount to begin with, probably based on our levy. I've said a $10,000 expense. But my concern would be that as the system grows, what will that expense end up be? And if there was actually a process where the county wanted to take over transit, that would mean that they would have to take over transit across the whole region, which would include Woodstock's, which then would inflate the cost on everybody's county tax levy if we end up funding transit across the county and absorbing Tillsonburg's transit system and the county's transit system and Woodstock's transit system.
Before I move on to Councillor Bowman, I just want to kind of make 2 or 3 comments as county councillor. I did not vote for this situation whatsoever. It was a recorded vote, and I certainly made my statement very clear that I was not in favor of this for multiple reasons, and that is, you do not have, number one, right off the bat, you don't have the commitment of the 3 municipalities that want this to happen. That's number one. Right off the bat, you don't have that commitment. You don't have the commitment of the urbans, for the simple fact that they, taking Woodstock, for instance, they already have a transit system, and in no way is the County of Oxford going to be supporting them as far as subsidizing any of their bus system. We have Tillsonburg that has, on their own, has gone ahead and put together a program that is supported by the ministry and not called upon Oxford County for dollars at all to be able to get a program underway. Now, what's going to happen down the road? We know that in a couple of years, the government is going to now pass on to Tillsonburg or the area, say, there you go. How is your startup? How is it going? You're on your own now. Is it something that you can work with or not? Are you going to have enough people taking care of this through rides that are going to pay for it? But whatever you want to do, you're on your own. So that's going to be a situation whether Ingersoll, Tillsonburg, and Southwest Oxford and Woodstock are going to take this and say, yes, this is a good system for us. It's working for us. We can use it, and we're going to support it and maybe financially continue on. Can we afford that? Can the county afford that? If the county decides to support that, then I can understand where Woodstock is coming from and saying, hey, hold it here, hold on. We've got 2 transit systems underway, and we've had a transit system underway for a long time that's losing a lot of money, but it's supplying a phenomenal amount of services that are needed for the people of Woodstock. And where is your support going to be there? We've now opened up the door as a county to say that we are going to be supporting and looking after this. They're going behind, I shouldn't say behind, forgive me for that. All the dollars aren't being presented. It's what the dollars are for the county to be able to front and to buy a bus, et cetera. But I do not believe that East Zora Tavistock right now, who is going to manage the system, has really figured out or put is that whether all the part-time staff is going to be put onto them cost-wise, or is it going to be county? What's going to happen with the dollars that David Simpson has already put into this? He already commented that he works a third of his time on all of his time for the last while of putting this program together. Who's paying for that? Well, it's county paying for that. Who's paying the county? The taxpayers of Oxford County, and a large percentage from the town of Ingersoll. It's not a comfortable situation. It's not a good situation. It was a recorded vote, and it came down to pretty well a 6-4 decision. And it's sad it went in that direction as far as I am concerned. Now we're going to say, how do you make the best of a bad situation? So I don't believe it's over yet. I'm sure that something's going to be coming forward as far as final costs as such. If East Zora Tavistock is going to take the full cost on, or are they only going to take on what they originally said, and now without Blandford Blenheim and Zora, is the County of Oxford going to offset that difference? Yes, I thank you very much for the report, Bill. It's a very, very good report, and certainly sits with me very strongly that I'm not for this whatsoever. I'm certainly for support. I'm certainly for services, but I have not seen the need for the services have not been presented to Oxford County, the need, but only the wish to make something happen, but I haven't seen the need. I'm sorry, Councillor Bowman, I jumped in ahead of you on your questions or comments, so please, I'll come back to you now. Councillor, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, first of all, I'd like to thank Bill. That was a very good report and a very good explanation on what is taking place. Your Worship, you and Councillor Lesser pretty well hit on exactly my concerns. Fact that I don't really support it. I don't think it should be on our backs. I too agree that with Bill's statement that at some point we start this and it balloons into a situation where we do end up with a transit being at a county level, and we do absorb possibly Tillsonburg, the northern end of it, as well as Woodstock, and then we're all straddled with the cost of a transit system that, we don't even have in our town. I guess the last part of my question is to you, Bill. Do you have any idea whether Woodstock has a budget for this battle at all, this legal battle? And just so we can find out, roughly what we're looking at if we happen to join in with them in their fight.
Through the mayor to you, Councillor Bowman, I have spoken with the CAO in Woodstock, and they are proceeding. They have retained legal counsel to review the issue. They will get like a legal opinion from that lawyer, and then the decision will be made where to proceed next. And I would imagine that it will be to the courts to determine whether or not the county's actions are in alignment with the Municipal Act. Again, they have a legal budget. We have a legal budget. They certainly didn't plan on spending it, but the CAO said that they feel that this issue is important enough and they have room in their budget to absorb the cost we probably have money in our budget to assist. And I'm not saying that we partner on a 50-50 basis, but that in form and support, that we support them and we could make defined financial contribution. And I could bring that back to council at a later date to confirm.
Thank you, Bill.
Yes, thank
That's
you.
all, Your Worship.
Councillor Hughes?
Actually, through you, Mayor Comiskey, the CAO just answered that question. I was going to ask him if he had a number in mind of what this would cost to partner with Woodstock for the legal action. I too am not in support of. I understand transit. I understand people need to get moving from point A to point B. I understand that we do have a large population spread out over a large area, and people need to move from point A to point B for work, for groceries, for necessities of life. I understand that. But with the report that Mr. Simpson brought, and then his follow-up information that he emailed through to us either later that evening or the next day, I think it was, to pay that kind of money to transport 1 or 2 or 3 people a day seems awfully expensive. And as stated earlier, when you're opening a door to them supporting that transit, everybody else is going to come along and say, hey, you need to support ours. And next thing, as Councillor Bowman said, we're paying for other people's transit systems and we have no service here whatsoever. So
Thank you.
that was my question that was answered by the CAO.
Okay, those are quite, I'm sorry, Councillor Petrie, please.
Thank you. I just want to echo a lot of the concerns. To me, the most important one is the jurisdiction issue. If the county's going to step on their toes on this one, what else are they going to step on? I don't like the little shell game they're doing to get around that by saying it's a grant. They're providing a lot of money up front, and the county developed this system. We just had a county. We didn't have an East Zora Tavistock. We didn't have Zora. We didn't have Blandford Blenheim here. We had the county here. It's got county stamped all over it. You might as well put county on the side of the bus. So whoever's going to be the point person, I think who's ever going to be controlling it is going to be at the county level. So that is something that I'm definitely in favor of fighting. Is we never give them the okay to run a transit system. Also, why wouldn't Woodstock just jump at the plate as soon as they get the chance on this? They have precedent. Like, how are you going to say no to them? They provide services to everybody all over the county. If I was Woodstock, I'd be lining right up, and I don't blame them. And Tillsonburg, in the county resolution, which wasn't mentioned to us when David Simpson was here, it says that they committed to funding the Tillsonburg system after it's done, its funding is out. So they've already made that decision at the county level. I appreciate the mayor voting against it. I think 100% agree with their decisions on that one. They did not listen to the people of Oxford when they made the vote for yes. The other thing is the cost of this. According to the county report, which changes every time you see it, East Zora Tavistock is now going to put in $45,000 the first year and $63,000 the second year, followed by a portion from the county of like $113,000 the first year, and then $20-something thousand the year after until there's a shortfall, which I'm sure would go up. And then there's gas tax revenue to cover the rest of it. So when Mr. Simpson was here and said it's sustainable, it's only sustainable by shoving money in it from different levels of government. To point that out, the first year, given their statistic, it's going to cost every ride, if their numbers are even close to correct, is $110 per person, is what it's going to cost the taxpayers of Ontario, Oxford County, and East Zora Tavistock to have someone ride that bus. That's with the $10 fee, so it's really over $120 per ride. And even if they reach their maximum number, it's going to be over $35 per ride. That's not good value for tax dollars, in my opinion. So I'm 100% in fighting this. It's poor jurisdiction, and it's even a poor business plan.
Thank you, Councillor. Could I have someone make the motion and then we can have a discussion at the motion point? And that is Councillor Hughes, please.
Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, that the council for the town of Ingersoll receive report number A-035-20 as information. Further that council advised the county of Oxford it is not supportive of funding the North Oxford Transit System until the legislative review is complete. And further that the town partner with Woodstock on a legal review.
Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, thank you. Now still open for comment. Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens.
Not going to take much time. I echo everybody has said, but if they're all going to have transit systems, then where's ours? I'm just saying, if you're gonna do it for all the rules, and you're gonna take on Woodstock and you're gonna take on Tilsonburg, then I guess it's about time that we put our foot in and said we want one too. So I don't think that they want to take that on either, because we don't have anything, and so they're gonna need to put a lot of money into it. So I fully support this in saying no. So thank you.
Deputy Mayor Freeman. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess I just got to say, I'm just flabbergasted that this has gotten this far, especially after 2 of the 3 initial municipalities backed out, so they no longer support it. But yet they would then go to the county council meeting and say, "Oh yeah, let's do it." Again, it just doesn't make sense. And as Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens just said, where's ours? Heck, let's build an aircraft carrier in the Thames and get the county to pay for half of it, because it's just about as silly. I just don't understand it. It looks to me, and I'm just going to say this, it looks to me that the county of Oxford wants to create a new department, and they want to be running it because, after all, there are, as has been said, they're already planning to support and take over the Tilsonburg system in 2023, I believe, is it? Your Worship, thank you very much for opposing it, and I appreciate that very much, and continue to do so, because this is just ludicrous.
Thank you very much. We're going into this now. Those opposed to this motion?
Need a seconder, Mayor?
I'm sorry, did I not get a seconder? I did. I got Van Kooten-Bosens.
Yes, I apologize. You did. Yes, thank you. Sorry.
Okay. Any further comment? Seeing none. Those opposed? Seeing none there. This is passed. Thank you. Moving now on the council meeting dates. Michael?
Yes, thank you. This is a standard report we write at the end of the year, every year for council, just outlining the meeting dates that are upcoming for the next year to establish them. We then can provide them to our partners and post them on the internet and on our calendars. This is what we normally establish every year towards the end of the year.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bowman, please, if you would read the motion.
Yes, I will, Your Worship. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, that the council for the town of Ingersoll receives report C-027-20 as information. And further, that the council approves the dates established in report C-027-20 to form its 2021 schedule of council meetings.
Thank you, Councillor. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Comments or questions? Seeing none, those opposed? This motion is passed. Thank you. Moving off to Building and Engineering Department, parking. Also back to you, Michael.
Yes, that's correct. Council will be aware that we have a few parking spots that are out the back of our town hall building that we usually use for the building department, engineering department, and they're signed accordingly that they're for staff, but they are not actually part of our bylaw, our traffic bylaw. So when we need to do enforcement, we can't actually write tickets on them. We've never had to do enforcement before, but during COVID, times have changed and people are having different traffic patterns, and we need to do some enforcement in that area. So that's why this report is here.
Thank you. Could I ask Deputy Mayor Freeman, please, to read the motion?
Yes, Mayor, I will. Move by myself that the Council for the Town of Ingersoll receives staff report C-028-20 as information, and that Council approves the addition of permit parking signs to the building/engineering allocated parking spaces to the rear of Town Hall to allow for enforcement. And further, that this change be reflected in traffic and parking bylaw 06-4327, Schedule F, and amended by bylaw.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Could I have a seconder on this? Thank you very much, Councillor Petrie. Comments or questions? Councillor Hughes.
So through you, Mayor Comiskey, to the clerk, is there going to be I guess, an educational point period in time? Because obviously people have gotten somewhat used to parking back there, even though they already are signed, to the fact that if they continue to park there, that there will be tickets issued and enforcement happening.
That's a good point. I will request that for the first week or something along that line, that notices be given as opposed to tickets, but that you make it clear that they will be getting tickets in the future.
Thank you, Councillor. Those opposed to this motion? Seeing none, this is passed. Thank you very much. Moving on to ROMA delegations. Michael, again.
Yes, again, we normally have ROMA delegations, and I think they're probably considerably more meaningful when we are normally at the conference and we could sit down with ministers and their staff and speak to them about the issues that are important to us. This year's conference is intended to be virtual, and so will the meetings. But as normal, we've put this report in front of council and said, are there any specific delegations that you would like to make? We'd like to be very clear if council gives us direction on what to submit. It's something I request every year, because otherwise it's left up to me to try and make it clear what we're trying to ask for, and I'm not always sure what that is. So if there are delegations you would like to attend, please make it clear why and what you would like to talk about.
Just a note then, I'm not too sure. I'm sure that we can mail them in to you, whatnot, but I would certainly like to have one to the Ministry of Environment. If nothing else, to be able to thank him, to be able to in person, as over the airways, we've never really kind of been able to do that. And it'd be very nice in the delegation form. I know it'll be virtual as such, but for our team to be able to be there and to be able to, in a relaxed state, thank them very much for the commitment they gave us and what they came through on. But that's the one note I have, and I'm sure that other councillors may have thoughts and ideas on different delegations. And Michael, you just want them to email them to you, and then a decision can be made at that point in time?
Yeah, quite often council will give direction now, but
okay, that's great. I'll ask, I didn't mean to cut you short there, Michael. I'm just going to ask councillors, are there any councillors out there that have delegations that they would like to present at ROMA? Councillor Hughes.
I won't be on the Police Services Board next year, but should we possibly look at getting a delegation with the minister responsible for policing and I guess that's community services, in regards to policing costs, as well as support in that regards with the OPPM heart, and as well as changes in regards to, or support if there's ever anything brought back in a report from staff regarding if we choose to look forward to building our own police force, municipal police force.
Well, certainly, I think that is something that could be discussed, and actually a very good delegation be brought forward to have their thoughts and ideas and presentation. I believe it was Councillor Petrie. You had your hand up to request a delegation.
I have a couple. One, I'd like to talk to the municipal affairs. about the boundary adjustment process and offer some insight on Ingersoll's experience and how we can improve that process to ensure that Ontario keeps growing in a prosperous way. And while we're thanking the Minister of Environment for the decision he made, I would also, from our watershed-wide approach, try to gain some insight on their decision-making for the Conservation Act and how that affects Ingersoll going forward. Mostly around the decision where we'll have to sign agreements for special individual services with the Conservation Authority and how that will affect our budgets and stuff like that.
Sounds good. Other councillors at this point? I'm sure that Michael, if I could ask a question, and that is at what point do you send this information in?
There is a deadline that's, I believe it's the end of the month.
Okay. So as I say, councillors, you have till the end of the month, or please, maybe in the next week or so, if you do come up with something, to bring it forward to Michael so that he can prepare.
And I should just point out that we can't just, you may not want to put in multiple ones for multiple ministries because they may not give you any. So you might want to, we might want to sort of pick. And maybe that's the comment Bill's going to make or something, but.
CAO, please. You're muted, Bill.
Yeah, it seems like it's maybe my style tonight to step on toes, but these are council delegation requests. So that's why it's in front of council. So it shouldn't be Councillor A calling us next week and saying he wants a delegation on this topic, and Councillor B calling us, because council might not be supportive of that request.
I understand.
Council request. So that's why we need to have consensus tonight that council's in agreement with all these requests going forward. So we
Sounds
probably could formalize it on December 14th so we could have those conversations and bring them forward. But it really, council as a body has to say, yes, that's what we want to talk to the ministry about.
Okay. Thank you. So again, I will ask council any further delegation requirements. Councillor Petrie.
Just a question to staff. Do you think having multiple to municipal, to the environment minister is a bad idea? Or if so, then I can withdraw mine. We can bring that message to Conservation Ontario.
No, I don't think so. I think it's okay through the mayor to have multiple requests as long as they're on separate topics. And I mean, the one thanking the ministry for the changes to the Environmental Protection Act, which gives municipalities the right to say no to landfills, is one thing. And then yours is a completely legitimate other question to put in front of the ministry and get some understanding on the changes and the implications to municipalities. So they may approve both, they may approve one, or they may approve none. So
Thank you. That's enough information for you now, Michael?
That's good for me.
Thank you.
Thank
Could
you.
I have a reading of the motion, please? And that would be Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, please.
Certainly, Your Worship. Michael, do you want all three of these ministries put into this motion then as well? And then you have the reasons?
I have the reasons. If you have the ministries.
I've got the ministries, I think.
Sounds like a setup for a joke, but isn't. But
all right, moved by myself. That the council for the town of Ingersoll receive report C-029-20 as information, and that council provides staff with details of choices for delegations to be submitted, and they are for the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Correctional Services, and Municipal Affairs in advance of the deadline of November 30th, 2020, and that such requests include the details of relevant ministries along with the reasons and topics to be discussed.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Could I have a seconder on this, please? Thank you, Councillor Bowman. Further discussion? Those opposed? Seeing none at this time, this is passed. We still have 10 minutes before our public meeting. I'd like to go now to Thank you to the provincial government. And that, I believe, is back to you, Michael.
Yes, that's correct. As council is aware and staff are aware, there was a lot of time and effort put into this process to get the legislation changed to allow municipalities the right to say whether they want a landfill adjacent to them or not. A lot of staff time, a lot of council time, and a lot of public's time. But this couldn't have been done without our MPP, Ernie Hardeman, without Premier Ford, and without Minister Urich. They were instrumental in getting this done. This report and this resolution makes it clear how much we appreciate them and their work and their efforts. We haven't had an opportunity to formally make a thank you, and this is our chance.
Sounds terrific. Full support. Questions? Seeing no questions, could I have asked for Councillor Petrie, please? I'm sorry, it's not. It's Councillor Lesser to please read the motion.
Okay, this may use up your 10 minutes, but moved by myself, whereas the town of Ingersoll has been involved for several years with the Demand the Right initiative as it relates to the rights of municipalities and private sector proposals to develop new landfills. And whereas 150 municipalities joined the Demand the Right coalition of Ontario municipalities and made it clear municipalities should have the right to approve any and all proposals from a private sector landfill developer as part of the Ontario government's environmental assessment process. And whereas the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, the Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, Jeff Urich, and the Oxford MPP and Minister of Agricultural, Food and Rural Affairs, Ernie Hardeman, introduced legislation to give municipalities the right to approve on July 8, 2020, including the same right and equal right for adjacent municipalities within 3.5 kilometers of the proposed landfill site. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Ingersoll would like to thank Oxford MPP and Minister of Agricultural, Food and Rural Affairs, Ernie Hardeman, for your unending efforts for forwarding the thousands of letters of concern from residents, introducing private members' bills, and giving thoughtful consideration to giving municipalities the right to choose if they want a landfill. And that the town of Ingersoll would like to thank Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, Jeff Urich, who listened to municipalities and gave thoughtful consideration to the issues and developed and introduced the legislation. And that the town of Ingersoll would like to thank Premier Doug Ford for following through with his promise on May 26, 2018 to give municipalities right to choose if there is a landfill built near them. And that the town of Ingersoll would like to thank Oxford MPP and Minister of Agricultural, Food and Rural Affairs, Ernie Hardeman, Minister of Environment, Parks and Conservation, Jeff Urich, and Premier Doug Ford for recognizing that it is important that municipalities within 3.5 kilometers of the landfill have a say, as they will feel the impacts as much or more than the host municipality. And that the town of Ingersoll would like to thank Oxford MPP and Minister of Agricultural, Food and Rural Affairs, Ernie Hardeman, Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, Jeff Urich, and Premier Doug Ford for recognizing the right to approve to a landfill proposal means that some municipalities will approve such proposals if the landfill meets conditions that these municipalities may deem to be relevant. And that the town of Ingersoll would like to thank Oxford MPP and Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, Ernie Hardeman, Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, Jeff Urich, and Premier Doug Ford for your commitment to public service, for listening to the residents of the town of Ingersoll and standing up for the residents of the town of Ingersoll and ensuring that they are at the table on this important issue. That's it. Before somebody says it, no, I'm not reading it again.
I'm sorry, Gord, but you were on mute. Can you?
Yeah, good luck.
Could I have a seconder on this, please? Deputy Mayor, thank you very much. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, could I ask for anyone opposed to this? Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Hughes, did you?
I was just going to ask, are we going to send a letter to the three MPPs that were mentioned in the letter, and are we going to be forwarding this through to other municipalities that are within the demand the right?
If I could, Your Worship, through you, yes, that will be what our next steps in this process.
Thank you. Those opposed? Seeing none. Thank you. We have now Boundary Roads Maintenance Agreement. I have right now 4 minutes. Why don't, if you would like to, if you want to take a 4-minute break, and if you wish to, and we can come back with our public meetings. If you wanted to just do what you would like to do in 4 minutes. Councillor Lesser, you are not muted, just so you know.
Yeah, I know. Your Worship, I really wasn't too worried if somebody heard me talking about my dog's paw.
Yeah, I just didn't know where it was going to from there, that's all.
No problem.
So Canada lost a couple of icons this past few days.
Yeah,
Alex Trebek, Howie Meeker.
sad.
It is unfortunate.
But he got an extra 1.5 years, and usually stage 4 pancreatic cancer doesn't get an extra 1.5 years. So
Valid.
blessed that he got that, right? So
Absolutely.
I lost
true.
a friend to pancreatic cancer 6 months after she was diagnosed with stage 4. So yeah,
That's unfortunate.
so I'm glad that he got a 1.5 years, right? So
I'm amazed that he was working 2 weeks ago.
I know. Well,
Right?
they have pre-taped shows up until December. His last date is December, and they have them all pre-taped at this point in time.
Yeah. They're supposed to,
Unbelievable.
his last show's what, December 25th, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, working up until October 29th, like the mayor said, like 2 weeks ago, not even 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Councillor Lesser, I did not bring forward anything from Masonic Temple, but if you have something, I would assume that you would cover that off, or you or Councillor Bowman. And I didn't bring forward anything about Rotary, but I figured that we have 2 Rotarians on, so you guys would bring forward anything from Rotary in that respect, right? I'm not going to try to cover off your organizations as well, just so that you understand.
I believe that if you're going to report on service clubs, that you only report and just kind of comment on those that contact you. I don't
Yes.
think it's your job to go around to the Knights of Columbus or anyone else that's doing
No,
anything.
but that's why I wanted to put it out there that I'm willing to do it. And yeah, I understand they don't have a counselor that is maybe within their club, and they want the community to know. And these are great things that I reported on tonight that are happening. Yes. And, it's great that they're doing those things. So
Terrific.
Absolutely.
Okay, Michael, would we be back on target?
I don't see Michael yet.
There he is.
There he is.
Wherever he went, he had to put a mask on.
Who was that masked man?
Yeah, exactly. No idea. Yeah, so it's just turning 7 p.m. now. If you want to start that up, I think we've added in some of the people that are coming in for the public meeting. I believe we're adding them in through the.
Okay, that sounds good. I will start this off then. Welcome to the public meeting. I declare that the public meeting to be open. This meeting is to be constituted as being a public meeting held under the Planning Act for the purpose of hearing zoning amendments proposal ZN 6-20-01. This meeting is also intended to provide the opportunity for any person in attendance via video conference to make a presentation to council. We ask anyone in attendance virtually who wishes to receive the decision of council on the application being considered this evening to submit that written request via email to mgraves@ingersoll.ca. The local planning appeal tribunal has the power to dismiss any appeal under subsection 25 if an appellant has not provided council with oral submission at a public meeting or a written submission before a bylaw is passed under this section. Does any councillor have conflict of interest on the application being heard this evening? Yeah, oh, thank you very much, Fred, because I can't see you. So if you're trying to indicate something, I can't. And Councillor Petrie, are you there?
I'm fine, Your Worship. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yep. Okay. I just, otherwise, if you're signaling to me, I can't see you. That sounds good. Thank you very much. The application being heard concerns ZN 6-20-01, which is Block 27, Plan 41M307-1879784, Ontario, Inc. Has the clerk received any additional correspondence on the application that is not noted on the agenda?
No.
Thank you very much, sir. I now request the planner, Ron Verstegen, to provide an overview of the application and an explanation of the requesting zoning amendment. Good evening, Ron. You're on mute, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. And we
Great.
all can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let me see if I can go to share here. So everybody can see the map in front of them?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the zone change application shown on plate 1 of the planning report affects lands that are located on the east side of David Street between Woodview Crescent and Simon Street. And to give a context of what the application it represents, it's shown on plate 1. There is a small portion of lands to be rezoned from R3 to R4, and then another small area from R4 to R3. And this is really to enable the lands to be developed for multi-unit residential purposes that are shown on plate 3. So maybe if I'll go to plate, so plate 1 gives the location of the property, where plate 2 of the planning report shows the basically what's their photo as of 2015. Again, the shaded area represents the lands that are to be rezoned. Plate 3 illustrates the land that is proposed to be developed by the developer. The area along David Street, as you'll see here, is where the 27-unit 3-story apartment building is proposed to be located. And then there's approximately 43 townhouse units, combination of on-street townhouses and then also a or what would be considered more of a cluster style or likely a condominium type of development is proposed. And again, it's important to note here that really what we're doing here is just simply considering the rezoning of these 2 small areas themselves. The entirety of Block 27, the lands have already been rezoned, and the official plan designations have been in place for actually some period of time. And if I go to plate 4, this shows the purple area is the R4 area where the proposed apartment building is to be constructed, and the pink area is where the townhouses are to be constructed. And council may be aware, some of these lands have been designated now and zoned for quite a period of time, and actually goes back to 1990 and 1991 when actually the zoning on these lands were established. So if I go back to plate 3, as mentioned, the lands are designated as medium density residential and high density residential. The lands to be rezoned to R4 are approximately 295 square meters in area, or a little over 3,100 square feet in area. The lands to be rezoned to R3 are approximately 159 square meters in area, or a little over 1,700 square feet in area. The other element of this, it's probably the important aspect of this development proceeding, would be the future extension of Walker Road, which is located immediately south of Block 27. Surrounding land uses, you have primarily single detached dwellings. Obviously have Lorne Moon Park to the immediate south, and then you have agricultural lands to the north and east that are located within the township of Southwest Oxford. In terms of the official plan, as mentioned, the land, a portion of the lands are designated for medium density purposes. Permitted uses within those include townhouses, medium density cluster development, converted dwellings, and low-rise apartments. The range of development would be at the low end would be 31 units per hectare, and the high end would be 62 units per hectare. The smaller portion accommodating the apartment block is currently designated as high density residential. The permitted uses obviously they're intended to be more for denser forms of development, such as an apartment building. The low end of the density scale would be 63 units per hectare, and the high end, or the top end, shall exceed 111 units per hectare. In terms of zoning, the lands are currently zoned R3, or portion of, which permits multiple unit dwelling and street fronting townhouse units, permitted uses in the R4 zone, including apartment buildings. In terms of public consultation, there was no comments that were received prior to the submission of the report for council's consideration tonight. However, there was a response that was forwarded to me just prior to council's meeting starting tonight from Mr. Lobson. And if council doesn't have the comments, I can read them. Exciting to see that we may see our first new apartment building since the late 1970s. Exciting that the subdivision plan for 30 years ago may get completed. Excited that Walker Road may finally get its extension. Fully supportive of this development that will nibble away at the serious lack of apartment style inventory. Then Mr. Lobson posed 4 questions. First, with respect to the stormwater management pond, the drawings show that Walker Road is being placed right on top of the stormwater management pond, and there's not seemed to be any new location processed either on or off the developer's property. The reason I ask is this development has been on and off for on the active list for decades. I'm hoping there is any other delay in construction. Question 2, why not 4 or 5-story given the extreme shortage of apartments in Ingersoll? Question 3, will these apartments be converted to condos either during the development or after as part of the business plan? I fully understand that this building is sold. There is no controls that council or current owner would have other than having another owner making an application to convert the apartments to condos. And then finally, question 4, will this apartment building definitely exit onto Walker Road instead of David? Now, as I've indicated in my planning report, just to summarize, this is really obviously the public meeting component. There will be a subsequent planning report for council, likely at the next meeting, that will have comments from the agencies such as town staff, summary of public input, and also with a planning recommendation. So I think as opposed to responding to Mr. Lobson's questions tonight, what I'll do is confer with town staff to ensure we're on the same page. I'll respond to Mr. Lobson and then detail those, summarize those in the report at the next council meeting for their consideration. Subsequent to any other questions, I'm more than happy if council has any questions.
I don't see all councillors here in front of me. Yes, I do. So I don't see any questions at this point, Ron. Is there any other comment that you would like to make at this time?
Mr. Mayor, no, I think that's pretty much, I've covered what I needed to speak to tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, sorry. So that was, I apologize. I should have had my hand up a little earlier. The storm, whether you're able to answer this tonight, Mr. Verstegen, or not, is in regards to the stormwater management pond. What basically happens to that?
Well, through the mayor, my understanding really is that the pond in this particular location is always meant to be a temporary pond. There is a regional pond that is to the south and to the west of this that's really been designed to take flows from this subdivision as well as the subdivision to the south. So the flows will be accommodated through that regional facility.
Okay, no, it was one of my first questions that popped into my head when I seen the design come up, but that's good. Thank you.
The next note here is to have the applicant or their representatives advise if they have anything to say or would like to ask or make comment upon at this time. Do we have a representative?
I believe that Paul Florica may have joined us on the line. Maybe he can speak to anything. Shane, if you can let him in to speak. I think Paul is here now. Paul, is there anything that you have to add as the applicant?
Hi there. Yeah, it just connected now, so I just see the plans here. Yeah. As far as I got nothing. It's very straightforward. I think we're simply just realigning the property line to create efficiencies on both sides as far as the R3 and the R4, and just trying to create something that makes sense to move forward with.
That sounds great, Mr. Florica. And at this point in time, I'd like to say thank you very much for investing in our town. And I look forward to having the completion of this project. It was commented on. We've had this one going for a long time. And Paul, I'm looking forward to its completion and the need departments that the town requires at this time. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Seeing nothing at this point in time, I will now open this meeting to the public comments, but I believe we do not have any registered public comments at this point in time, but only the letter from Mr. Lobson, which will be addressed, his questions at the next meeting, etc. That will be brought forward at that point in time. Am I correct on that, Clerk?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you very much. Members of council now have the opportunity to ask any questions about the application. However, they may not offer any comment at this time. Questions, please. Seeing none. Alrighty. Thank you very much. If there are no further comments or questions, then the public meeting for this application is concluded. The application will now be scheduled to come before council at the subsequent meeting, during which the planner's report and recommendations will be considered. As a reminder, if any member of the public wishes to be notified of the decision of the Council of the Town of Ingersoll in respect to the zoning bylaw amendment, they must submit a written request to the town clerk, Michael Graves, at mgraves@ingersoll.ca. the clerk must provide notice to the council's decision to all those who have requested a copy within 15 days after the day that the bylaw is passed. Anyone may appeal the decision to the LPAT by filing with the clerk within 20 days of the notice of decision. The notice of appeal must set out the objection to the bylaw and the reasons in support of the objection, accompanied by the required fee. If there is no comment or questions, then I now declare the public meeting to be closed. Are there any comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Freeman.
Thank you, Your Worship. No questions, but this is time for us to comment now, correct?
Correct?
No? Okay.
Correct.
Everyone else is shaking their head, Your Worship. I'm getting.
Well,
Correct.
if I could, Mr. Mayor, this is the public meeting, so this is the opportunity for the public to ask questions. Council hasn't taken a decision. We haven't even seen the planning report, whether or not the planners will be recommending this or not. So
Certainly.
it would be premature for any council members to take a position on the application until the next meeting.
Okay, so no further comments. Deputy Mayor, you can't.
You really enjoyed that, didn't you?
All righty. I will now ask Deputy Mayor Freeman to make the motion, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I am going there now to this. Sorry, I have to make sure I'm in the right report. I've got two laptops open here, and I need to make sure I'm in the right spot. Is this CP 2020-184?
Correct.
Thank you. Moved by myself that the council for the town of Ingersoll receive report number CP 2020-184 dated October 27th, 2020 as information.
Could I have a seconder on that, please? Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Comments or questions? Seeing none, those opposed? Seeing none, this is passed. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all involved.
Thank you, Mr. Florica. Take care. And now delegations and presentations. We have Rotary Club of Ingersoll Alternative Christmas Parade. Good evening, Mr. Funnell.
Good evening. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Your Worship, Deputy Mayor, council members, staff, and guests, on behalf of the Rotary Club of Ingersoll, I want to thank you for allowing me to join you tonight. As you're aware, due to COVID-19, we had to make the unfortunate yet responsible decision to cancel the 2020 Christmas parade. This has left many in our town feeling disappointed, but perhaps no one more than my fellow Rotarians. In an attempt to spark some Christmas spirit in our community, we have organized a committee and recruited volunteers to do something a little different. Since people can't go see Santa in the parade, we want to bring Santa to them. The concept is simple. Over the span of 4 nights beginning December 7th, we will, with the assistance of the Ingersoll Fire Service and the Oxford OPP, visit each street and pass each home in our town where possible. And after a call to the North Pole, we can confirm that Santa would be on board. We will have the lights and music for even a brief moment. We will share the Christmas spirit, one neighborhood, one street, and one house at a time. We want to make one thing clear to our fellow citizens. We're coming to you. You don't need to gather in groups to see Santa. We would ask that families stay on their own property and follow all public health guidelines. We are also exploring the possibility of 2 additional items. The first is using this as a chance to collect non-perishable items for local organizations that are needing assistance. The second is using a 5th night at the end of the light display in Victoria Park, so that those that perhaps miss Santa going by their house would be able to drive by themselves for a peek. We would be requesting the blessing of council and the assistance of the Public Works Department in developing a safe route through Ingersoll. All routes would be made available ahead of time, and our location would be shared in real time so that our citizens could track Santa's location. Our next steps would be a social media campaign to the families of our town to share our plans, share the routes, and of course, emphasize the public health guidelines. COVID-19 has made this year tough for many, and our hope is for even a brief moment to help people remember what the spirit of the season is about. So with that, I will take any questions you may have.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Funnell. Did you have dates in mind?
Your Worship, we did December 7th. It's a Monday, and we would begin that for 4 nights. The plan would be to have an inclement weather dates in the event that, a little bit of rain would be okay, but if it was a complete downpour, we would postpone it by exactly 1 week. And so that's the preliminary plan.
Thank you. Councillors, please ask questions. Councillor Van Kouten-Bosens.
This is a great idea. I'm totally on board with this. I messaged Adam last night with the whole GPS thing. My husband was excited. It's Addie's real first Christmas. Last year didn't really do it for us, but this year she'll love seeing Santa. So we're very excited. I had a question about those that are in apartment buildings. How might you look at that one? Obviously, I'm thinking 285 Thames, the apartment complex off of Ingersoll Street. A lot of young families in both of those areas. Has your committee thought about that one?
That's a great question, Councillor. We actually have. We discussed in this planning, making sure that the vehicles that we used were, I guess, compact enough that they would be able to navigate through those parking lots and ensure that we could go in and turn around. So as plans develop further, yes, we would be coming forth with a strategy to ensure that we could go into those parking lots, turn around safely, and get back out on the main road.
Perfect. Totally in support. We'll share it out in the social media as much as possible and get word out there. So thank you very much for doing this.
Councillor Petrie.
Great idea. I heard London had switched theirs up. They're doing it at the airport. I think this is a lot better idea. You're bringing the parade to the people of Ingersoll. Yeah, really great thinking outside the box to make this happen. So kudos to the Rotary Club, and I fully support it. And good luck.
Thank you, Councillor.
I don't see any other. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. Are any roads going to have to be closed for this, Mr. Funnell?
No, Councillor Hughes. There's only going to be 3 vehicles, so there will be just in talking. I know Daryl Parker spoke with Chief Holmes today about using, I believe it's a 1927 it's a restored fire truck. So there would be that. We're hoping we can get the auxiliary unit and a police cruiser, and then there would be 1 vehicle from the Rotary Club that would be collecting non-perishable food items. So there would just be the 3 vehicles, all what would be considered private passenger style vehicles. So no, there should be no need to close any roads.
Excellent. Great idea. It's good. It's good. I think it's going to bring a lot of happiness and through this COVID stuff to a lot of the younger kids for sure. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, Deputy Mayor Freeman.
Thank you, Worship. Again, I can't call him Mr. Funnell. Adam, thank you. Thank you so much for doing the presentation tonight. And again, the mayor and I, myself, being fellow members of the Rotary Club as well, we're really looking forward to it and being able to help out in any way that the club can. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be
thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Challenging and interesting, and to get all the streets in town in 4 nights. But again, having the 5th night at the park for those who missed is an awesome idea as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate your support.
Well, I thank you very much. Could I have Councillor Van Kouten-Bosens, please, to read the motion?
It is my honor and pleasure to read this one. Normally, I don't like reading them too much, but this one's great. So moved by myself that the Council for the Town of Ingersoll receive the delegation request from the Ingersoll Rotary Club regarding an ultimate Christmas parade as information, and I fully support. So
Could I have a seconder? Thank you very much, Councillor Bowman. Those opposed? Seeing none.
No Scrooges.
This is passed. Adam, thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you all. It's been a pleasure.
Take care. Yes, Council, I'd like now to, if I could, to go back for changes in tendering process. I believe that, oh no, did we do the boundary roads? No, we didn't. Boundary roads maintenance agreement? I believe that's
where we left off, Your Worship.
That's right. Okay, please, yes. CAO, who do you have on board for this?
Our town engineer.
Is Ramesh there?
Yeah, Ramesh will be joining us. He's joined us now to speak to his reports.
Ramesh, did you get new glasses?
No, they are the old ones.
Oh, okay. How are you this evening?
Good, thank you, sir. Good. Thank you, Worship Council, for this report is just for an extension of the boundary road servicing agreement that has been in place for a number of years. So it's being renewed with a little bit of a change. It has been negotiated with Zora Township, and in this negotiation, Michael and we were involved. Traditionally, in the past, this north town line, which is a boundary road, has been shared in terms of maintenance between the town and the township. So this time, we have followed the same rules, other than the fact that we have tried to rationalize the work rather than doing piecemeal in different places, which was there earlier. So this time what we have tried to do is rationalize and combine pieces so that it also leads to optimization of equipment and consequently better service. So for example, if you see there's this street, and this is an example which I always so there's this Haynes Street which is close to Bell Street, and this street is half in the town and half in Zora. And so the rational factor is that since the start of this street is in the town, why don't us take over and do the entire street, which is a very small portion, rather than lift our blade and come back and let the township come and do the rest of it. So that kind of rationalization we have done. And the new agreement has been vetted by Zora Township, us, and Michael has looked at it, and it's ready to go.
Okay. I thank you, sir. Could I ask for Councillor Petrie to read the motion, and then we can ask questions and discuss.
Absolutely, Your Worship. Moved by myself that Council for the Town of Ingersoll receive report OP-007-20 as information, and that Council approve the signing of the Boundary Roads Maintenance Agreement between the Town of Ingersoll and the Township of Zora.
Well, thank you, Councillor. Could I have a seconder on that, please? Thank you, Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens. Now, discussion or questions? Seeing none. Those opposed to this motion? I also see none. This motion is passed. Thank you very much. I now also go to changes to tendering process.
Council, this is a report. This is for your information. What I've been reviewing in the past 1 year is to look at ways of improving our tendering process efficiency and improving our control over how the tenders are, announced and how we process the tenders. There are two changes that we are doing this time. And the significance of those two changes is to make sure that the people, that the contractors who fill up and tender for projects have a fair chance to review their costs and provide us a fair share. And that is, so the two changes that we are doing are, one is that in the past practice, we have been using a line item called contingencies in our tender. Now, contingencies are an essential part of a tender because of a project, not necessarily the tender. It's an essential part of the project because whenever we do any engineering project, especially in a town which could have old infrastructure, you never know what you find at any point of time. So there is always a certain uncertainty, and to cover that uncertainty, we usually use contingencies in our project estimate calculations. But what we have been doing in the past is that we have taken those contingencies and added them as a line item in our form of tender, which we issue for prospective bidders to fill up and submit. Two things happen. One, because we have put in our value of contingency in the tender, so that number we have injected into the tender cost. So it artificially inflates the tender cost because that number we have injected into it. The second thing that happens is, not very often, but I've seen it happen, is that that number gets to be known, and it seems that sometimes once the project is awarded, the bidders, in order to get the project, sometimes deliberately underbid a little bit, knowing very well that those contingencies are there and they can tap into those contingencies and make up for the low. So they can bid a little low to get the tender and then devise means of saying this is an extra, this is an extra, this is an extra. And therefore they can make up for that, you know, whatever shortfall that they have. So my proposal is that in moving forward, we will remove this line. There won't be any line of contingencies. That will be not known at the time of tendering. But we as staff would always carry that contingency in our back pocket, knowing very well that should there be any contingency which we need to use or unforeseen item or construction that occurs for which we have to pay, that payment would be specifically released only once it is approved by the town engineer. So therefore, there's that level of control which we will exercise, not necessarily that it will eliminate contingencies, but it will provide us with a better control and not provide for an open amount available that can be utilized. That's one change that we are making. The other change that we are making is that usually when the tenders are required to bid, there's usually a bid security, or sometimes called bid bond, which they have to provide. Traditionally, a bid bond is usually 10% of the cost of the bid. What we have been doing traditionally in the past is that we have actually fixed an amount in the tender document saying that is the amount that you will provide as bid security or a bid bond. Now that amount is based on our estimate of the cost, and therefore 10, give or take 10% of the cost that we have estimated. The moment we put that number there, we are indirectly announcing that that's the amount of money that we have in our pocket for this project. Which means when a tender comes in, when a tenderer sees that project, that person already has an estimation of what is the total value of money that we have. So there's a possibility that the bid can be, not necessarily the bid can be, but the costs can be adjusted to be as close to our estimation as possible. So the change that I'm doing in future tendering is that we would ask them to provide 10% of their bid value as security, which means A, we don't sort of announce what the value is. Secondly, every bidder has a fair, equal opportunity to sharpen their pencils and provide their bid, and therefore provide 10% of what they have bid, rather than us telling them that this is the amount that we expect coming from you. Many times, occasionally what happens is when they provide a bid bond, the bond is made up, and then sometimes just before submitting, there's a little bit of a fine tuning that they do in their pricing. That's fair enough. That's fine. Till the time they provide us 10% or more. So they have done an estimation, they've provided that 10%. And if they're, fine tuning their cost a little later, that's fine. Till the time the value of the bid bond is 10% or higher than whatever they have bid is acceptable. But at least we are not putting in a number and indirectly announcing that that's the pot of money that we have with us. So these are the two changes, and it's just as an information that this is how we'll be going forward for our future projects. We have done this 10%, we have already done for Clark Road Industrial Subdivision. We have removed the contingency, and we have put in 10% of the bid cost rather than giving them a fixed value. So for this big project that's coming up, we've already done that to see how it comes up.
Thank you very much, Ramesh. Right now, I'd like to call upon, I guess it's Councillor Hughes, please, to read the motion, and then we can go into questions and comments.
Yes, absolutely. So that is report OP 008.
20, correct.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, that the Council for the Town of Ingersoll receive report OP-008-20 as information.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder on that? Thank you much, Deputy Mayor. Thoughts, comments, and questions? Seeing none.
Councillor Petrie.
Councillor Petrie.
Oh, I apologize. Your square is a little smaller than the rest, and I missed you. I apologize, Councillor, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to congratulate Ramesh and his team on this. I think it's very smart. We want to get the best deal possible and a fair price, and taking away any tip of the hats to anybody is a smart thing to do. And kudos on this. Fully supportive of it. Making the people do their homework.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Freeman.
Thank you, Worship. And again, just to agree with what Councillor Petrie just said, thank you, Ramesh, because the contingency, I love to be able to go back over, say, like 5 years and see how many times the contingency had to be used. Because again, we bid, well, we've got another 10 or 15% there, so we'll underbid, knowing full well that they can always come back and use the contingency. So this way, sharpen your pencil. They have professional estimators that they hire who can probably go right down to the nickel of what it's going to cost them. So thank you. I agree with this, eliminating that contingency.
Thank you. Those opposed to this motion? This motion is passed. Thank you, Ramesh.
Thank you, Councillor.
I'd like now to go to 2019 Annual Financial Report and Surplus Allocation. Good evening, Arena.
Good evening. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you. So the report before council consists of two parts. So the first one provides information on the 2019 operating results, and the second part is to present council with the 2019 financial statements. So the first is the operating results. So looking at our year-end results, we ended the year with $1,188,000 surplus. There were a number of factors contributing to the surplus. I've outlined them all in the report, and in more the more details you could find in the attachment A to the report. Just to highlight the most noticeable variances would be $367,000 from investing activities. We received more, so part of it is dividends from Earth Corporation. We usually don't budget for that, $181,000. And we also were able to generate more in interest income of $186,000, mostly due to higher than we projected, higher interest rates, and also our cash balances were higher as well. Supplementary taxation was $258,000 more. It was due to significant gains in new assessment. We all know that we had 2 great years, and now in 2019 we received assessment on all the new houses were built in Ingersoll. And we actually budgeted pretty high for that line item, but the actual results greatly surpassed our expectations. Then we received $83,000 more in grants from the government. So there was a number of grants. There's policing grants were extended in 2020. We originally didn't expect them. We also budgeted a bit low for OMPF grant. We budgeted $33,000 lower just because we didn't have the allocations by the time we approved our budget, so we received more money, and there was others as well contributing. So the recoveries from the county were $75,000 more. So we charged the county for time that our engineering group helps them to manage the projects. So the projects were more significant in 2019, so we were able to generate more revenues. And also there is some environmental charges, like for the use of our brush yard as well. Our payroll related costs were $200,000 less. So there were some vacancies during the year, quite significant savings in terms of benefit costs. So we budgeted a bit higher, but they were able to renegotiate pretty good premiums for us. So we saved about $100,000 in that regard. And just various efficiencies in different departments in town. So utilities, $160,000 lower. That includes all utilities, hydro, water, gas. So hydro would be the highest contributor. And we've implemented a lot of like energy efficient measures in all our facilities. Like we changed everything to LED lighting outside, inside of the building. And it definitely pays off. We can see great results in that area. And also the property tax refunds were $60,000 lower. Again, we budget conservatively, and year over year, these numbers can change depending on how many applications we receive and how soon they go through ARB process. So, and the second part is actually our financial consolidated financial statements, and the surplus reported in those statements is a little bit different. It's over $4 million, and I provided the the reconciliation between the two surpluses, because certain things we have to report in the financial statements that we do not account for or use in the calculations of the operating surplus. So the great news is we've ended the year with the surplus, and we've strengthened our financial position yet again. We built our assets, paid off some of our debt. We didn't incur any new debt during the year, and the reserves went up by $2.4 million. And as of December 31st, 19, our reserves total almost $14 million. So the report also provides a recommendation for the surplus allocation, and staff is recommending to basically split the surplus 50-50 between the public building reserve and the arena facility reserve or MERC facility reserve for future capital needs. So if council has any questions, I will be more than happy to answer them.
Irina, that's fantastic. Fantastic news for the people of Ingersoll, not just for us. It's for all of us. That certainly with the green looking after, so that we have more dollars that we're saving by conservation. And I certainly thank administration by thinking ahead and looking after those things for us. And certainly it's going to pay off for the people of Ingersoll. Just a question. There used to be a rating that used to be applied to municipalities on, and I'm not too sure where it came out of, BDO or someplace, I'm not too sure, but it used to be a rating that was given, and you'd say that we lost our rating, or we still have our rating, or we expand our rating. Does that exist anymore, the ratings of the financial status and of a municipality?
Are you talking about credit rating? Credit? No.
I'm going to ask CAO. Do you remember, Bill, by any chance, there used to have an A rating or a double A rating or a triple A rating?
Credit rating.
Yeah, and where did those come out of originally?
So we are not rated. That would be county receiving the ratings.
Only county received that. Ingersoll
Yes,
never ever did.
I'm not aware of us receiving a rating. We don't borrow the money, so borrowing is done through the county. So therefore, they receive the rating from what I understand.
I see.
But I can look into that more closely.
Oh, no, it was just something that I know that we've worked very hard over the last 3 or 4 terms, and it's just been a strong push that we get our feet back on solid ground, and we have reserves, and we have a plan, and we have infrastructure. And I know that it has really paid off for the people of Ingersoll. And I just didn't know whether that rating still existed, or where we stood, or whether there was ever such a thing. So that's just a question. All I do is I thank you and administration for the work you've done to put us where we are and to keep us where we are as far as our status goes on our levels of reserves and certainly less borrowing. It's great. I call upon now council to comments and questions. Councillor Petrie.
Thank you. Appreciate the report, appreciate the outcome. This may take me a couple stabs to get the wording right, but so staff is recommending that we put all the surplus, basically 50-50, one into the public building reserve and one into the arena facility reserve. My question is, so some of that was we got more funding for the police. Some things we got more funding from this revenue. We didn't use this revenue. Why take the approach of putting it in a reserve rather than, when it's the operating, to fund capital rather than funding operations the next year? So if we have a police, we may not receive as much funding this year as police to try to lower the amounts of the budget. Obviously, because when these come out, it wouldn't be for 2020, but for the next, whenever that happens. So we start at a lower position when we're trying to make that budget. Does that make sense at all, of what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yes, it absolutely makes sense, Councillor Petrie, but we looked at the option you just voiced. So we have built a pretty healthy financial reserve that takes care of these things. So if we need to pull money to offset some of the losses next year in terms of COVID or any other operating costs, we can always pull money out of the finance reserves. Sorry?
No, I'm putting my hand up for when you're finished. Or no, go finish it.
But looking at our needs, we recommending this transfer, this allocation, because we looked at our needs and identified there is quite a bit of deficiencies in our public buildings. For example, the seniors facility, they need a roof. It wasn't budgeted, so now we need the money to pay for that. So that was the part of the decision. We're also looking at that facility further, and there are some other projects that need to be done. And they, for us, it's either borrow or we can tap into our reserves. So if we can build up the reserve, so we don't have to borrow, that was our decision. And of course, the arena facility reserve is because it's a significant, huge project, very, very important for this community. So we thought it would be great if we can put some money into this reserve, but we also can, the council can change the allocation.
Yes, supplement question, Councillor?
Yeah, so basically there's two parts to that, and Arena made the statement that the town has $14 million in reserves, and I want everybody to understand, especially at home, that that's not all cash. That's put away for specific things like capital needs and different things. It's earmarked for the future. So some of it is cash, I'm sure, but a lot of it is not. It's for specific needs. And so what you're saying is, to clarify, that if we do it, so I guess my concern is out there that people are going to be like, well, the council asked us for that money for specific things, and they brought in different money, and now it's not being spent on those specific things. But if we do spend it on those specific things, then we're going to have to go out and ask them for this money anyway. Is that correct?
Okay, so money that were allocated for specific needs, I had a report to council, I believe in March, when we transferred a significant amount of money into the reserves that were earmarked for specific. We didn't spend, and we transferred them to the reserves to be used for those specific needs. This is whatever is left over, and as identified in my report, a lot of it is extra revenues we didn't budget for. So it's really none of this money were for specific needs. So we didn't spend as much in hydro and wages, but the rest of it comes from extra revenues we received through either grants is $83,000, but the majority is investing activities, supplementary taxation, and such.
Councillor Hughes.
So I guess this might go a little further to Councillor Petrie's question. So I understand that this is the extra. It was non-budgeted revenue for this year. How much of that is due to COVID because we're not doing as much in regards to or we haven't done as much in regards to the different municipal run facilities such as, excuse me, Fusion being closed, the arena, not the arena, sorry, the pool not, just starting back up. How much of that is due to the COVID restrictions that have been implemented by the province? I'll have a supplementary after the answer.
This is last year's, no.
2019.
2019. Yeah, this year's. Oh, this is 2020. It's COVID. It gets you every time. So arguably, then moving forward in that regards, if we're looking at a budget for 2021, then arguably, if we're $1.1 or almost 1.2 million over in surplus, potentially we could look at a 0% tax increase, and before everybody loses their mind, I understand 0% tax increases gets municipalities in trouble, but arguably we could look at a tax-free for 2021 to really to make up this difference.
If I could.
Please, CAO.
And we'll have plenty of opportunity to kind of look at all the numbers as we get into the budget process, but I think it would be premature to make those kind of statements because, as the treasurer's just pointed out, we have a list of capital building projects that aren't financed. So if we use it just to reduce the tax rate, then we're going to have to find that money somewhere else, and that usually means borrowing. So council will have plenty of opportunity to discuss that, but there is money available, and if council comes to the conclusion that it wants to use some of that money, the unbudgeted revenue that came in 2019 to help limit the impact in 2021, they have the right to do so.
Sounds good. Councillor Lesser?
Well, looking at the report, I'm just going to say I'm comfortable with actually what our treasurer has recommended. Half of the money is obviously going into a reserve where, like you say, we can use it to fund, as she says, some of these projects that aren't funded at the moment. The other thing is some of the money is going into an arena. We know we have to do it at some point. We know it's going to cost us a lot of money. We've happened to have a bit of, I'll say, a windfall this year because of some revenue coming in unexpectedly. So I think the best thing we could do is earmark half of it and keep that set aside for an arena, because we all know it's not going to be $1 million or $2 million project. So 600,000 helps, but we've got a long way to go. Like I say, personally, I like where the recommendations are. I understand what the CAO was saying, that when we go to do budget, doesn't mean we may not draw on some of this money, but for the moment, yeah, I like where we are, and I say leave it there.
Just a comment, thank you, Councillor. Just a comment I have is that we have every year we put projected capital costs, and every year we say where are those costs going to, or where's that money going to come from for these capital projects? And we say some of it'll be borrowing, some of it'll be taxation, some of it'll be grants, some of it'll be this, to be able to pay for those projects coming forward. When we say we've got reserves, it's reserves for projects that are pretty well capitalized down the road that are going to happen or to take place. If we have more reserves in there, we know that then to offset the costs, it's going to be less borrowing as such, which is again advantageous for the taxpayer because we're paying less than in interest as such. But the thing is that allowing us at our tax deliberations, our discussions, to be able to say, where are we with this, and making the decision now or making suggestions is kind of premature, in my opinion, because we haven't had an opportunity to look at the budget or where we're going or where we're at. Certainly, Council will use that information coming forward at another time to be able to say, hey, here's where we are, let's use some of that. Then I think we would have all the information in front of us then to make a more of a decision. Dividing this up into needed capital work for our buildings. Certainly, we know we need them. We have some great buildings that we have looked after over the years, and but we know that they're going to need maintenance. We do not have the opportunity to have a complex where we have all these buildings under one roof. We don't. We have multiple roofs around town, which means it's multiple maintenance. And so it's more costly when you have more roofs, certainly. And then to be able to look forward, we know it was disappointing to lose our grant for our MERC, and so here's an opportunity now. We know if we go through with the MERC down the road, we know that we're going to have to borrow. The more we can put aside to be able to offset borrowing is superb for the people of the town of Ingersoll. I support the direction that the treasurer has aimed us in, and I would support that motion if it comes forward. Councillor Petrie, you have another comment. You're muted, sir.
No, sorry about that. Given that we're going to head into budget deliberations next month, and this money's not going to float away if we don't make a decision tonight, is it possible to defer this decision until we see the budget, and then we can make a decision on it at that time?
CAO, please.
Well, we could do that, but there's no reason why we can't put it into reserve as we get into budget discussions. If council wants to utilize that money, it's not locked in. You'll be able to pull it out with all our reserves. Irina does a good job when we go through the budget process of showing you what you have into reserves, identifying sources of funding for capital and operating costs. So right now, we'd want to do it before year end, and I don't think we're going to be much further ahead by our December meeting than we are right now. And again, council can rest assured that you're the stewards of that money, and you can decide to use it when you deem it's most expeditious to use it. So.
Thank you. Okay, could I have asked now for
Comiskey has a question.
Pardon?
Boston's.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor. Please.
No, that's okay. I thought you'd seen my hand, so I apologize. But I can hear what Councillor Hughes and Councillor Petrie have said as well. I had the same kind of questions that I was going to ask. I've also listened to what's been said tonight, and I'm comfortable with going ahead and saying, yes, let's put it into these two reserves, so that I'm not looking for us to give, over a certain percentage to the taxpayers when we've had a 1.2 million surplus either. I don't think that that's what the taxpayers want either. However, I'm comfortable in putting them into these two reserves and then us talking about it at budget time, and being able to pull some of it if that's what we wanted to do by lowering the percentage. I'm not in agreement, and I'm glad that you put that out there, Rick. Don't jump on me, but I am definitely not in agreement with the 0%. But if we can take it down by a percentage by using some of the funds, then that's something that we can discuss at budget time. But I'm very comfortable in putting it into our public buildings and arena facility. And Irina, I want to thank you and your staff for putting together this very long report. But it was good reading, and I thank you for doing that. So those are my comments. Thank you, Worship.
Councillor Bowman, would you read the resolution, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. And Irina, I just want to again say that thank you to you and your staff for all the hard work you put into this. And I, for one, support your options here. I think that for the present time, it looks after our present needs and our future needs. So with that being said, moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, that the 2019 audited consolidated financial statements be received and approved, and that council approve the $1,188,645.87 operating surplus to be allocated as follows: $588,645.87 to the public building reserve and $600,000 to the arena facility reserve.
Could I have a seconder on this, please? Thank you, Councillor Lesser. Further discussion or comment? Those opposed to the direction? Seeing none, this motion is passed. Thank you again, Irina. I now bounce down to correspondence and resolutions. We have county report, school bus, stop arm camera. Councillor Lesser.
Moved by myself that the council for the town of Ingersoll receive county report number PW 2020-47 as information.
Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Bowman. Discussion and comment. Those opposed? This motion is passed. County report, proposed North Oxford Inter-Community Transit Grant. Councillor Petrie, please.
There, unmute. Moved by myself that the council for the town of Ingersoll receive county report PW 2020-51 as information.
Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Bowman. Those opposed? This motion is passed. Thank you. Going down into bylaws, going into the committee of the whole, introduce bylaws 205109 through 205114. Councillor Hughes, please.
Move
Your
by
worship.
myself, Councillor Hughes.
Sorry.
Can I make the request that maybe 20-5113 be read separately, as I have a pecuniary interest in that matter?
Most certainly, most certainly. Can you see that, Councillor Hughes?
Yes, I'll make that change.
Okay, so you'll have two motions, please.
Yes. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, that the mover have leave to introduce and go into committee of the whole on the following bylaws. Bylaw 20-5109, -5110, -5111, 5112, and 5114. Council in the committee of the whole, Mayor Comiskey and the chair. On motion, the bylaw are accepted and as circulated. That constitutes the first and second reading of the bylaws.
Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, I thank you. Discussion on these bylaws. Seeing none. Those opposed? This is passed. Councillor Hughes, could you please make a motion on 205113?
Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, that the mover have leave to introduce and go into into committee of the whole on the following bylaw. Amended fees and changes bylaw, multi-monthly parking permit fees, that's a tongue twister. Bylaw number 20-5113. Council in committee of the whole, Mayor Comiskey and the chair. On motion, the bylaws are accepted as circulated. That constitutes the first and second reading of the bylaw.
Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, thank you for that second one. Those opposed to that motion? That motion is passed. I now, you'll have to do this again, I suppose. Rise out of committee of the whole, please. Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, that the committee do now rise out of committee of the whole.
Could I have a seconder? Thank you very much, Councillor Hughes. Comments? Those opposed? This moment is passed. Deputy Mayor Freeman, do you have it written down that you'll have two motions?
Yes, Your Worship, I do. I'm fine.
Thank you.
Moved by myself that bylaws 20-5109 through 20-5112 and 20-5114 be now read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed, that this constitutes the third reading of the bylaw.
Could I have a seconder on that, please? Councillor Lesser, thank you. Those opposed? This is passed. Deputy Mayor Freeman?
Moved by myself that bylaw 20-5113 be now read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed, and that this constitutes the third reading of the bylaw.
Seconder on that, please. Councillor Lesser, I thank you. Those opposed? That motion is passed. Councillor Petrie, if you can hear me, please come back in. There he is. Notice of motion. I have a Bell Street Boulevard maintenance. Councillor Petrie, please.
Yes, Your Worship. let me get back down here. It just moved it and it didn't like it. I apologize. I got to commend staff on this wonderful new screen we're using because it's a lot easier to navigate. So whereas Bell Street, I'm good here. Whereas Bell Street is a county road and was reconstructed by the county in 2019, 2020, and whereas landscape along the boulevards of the reconstructed portion were replaced during construction, and whereas there have been many large weeds that have continued to grow from that reconstruction that produced a very unsightly entrance into our community, and whereas town of Ingersoll staff have notified the county multiple times about the weeds, and whereas the town of Ingersoll will maintain the boulevards once the project is accepted by the county of Oxford, therefore be it resolved that the town of Ingersoll notify the county of Oxford that it does not find the current state of the boulevard acceptable and ask that they be brought into acceptable state of repair in line with contract requirements. I so move.
Now on this, Michael, is this for our this notice of motion, or is it a motion that I asked for a secondary and we can vote on it?
I believe this motion was in front of you previously, so now it's brought forward where you can ask for a second.
Okay, it's just brought in as a notice of motion. If it's only notice, just the clarification. If I enter something this today and enter it in as a notice of motion, is the next time we meet at council, it's just a motion? It's not a notice anymore, right?
Essentially, it's not really a motion until you get it seconded, but yeah. Effectively, it's still the councilor's notice of motion. Just this is the opportunity for you to allow it to be seconded to be considered.
Certainly. Could I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens. Discussion and comments. Councillor Petrie, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. This was obviously in the summertime, and it's basically just to let the county know when they're doing work in town. We would like a certain level of work. Because we have to look after it when they're done. So that's basically what it's about. And hopefully in the future, we can expect a little bit better work for our residents of town on county roads.
Thank you. And I do believe, I don't know, what is it, an old adage or proverb or whatever, if you don't watch the, something or other, they'll just go wild anyway. But I'm trying to think of the actual saying is that if you don't keep an eye on it, then they'll do what they want, and it is the norm. It becomes the norm. But if we start putting down and say, hold it here, we have road construction going on, and you must maintain it, must be looked after for the duration that you are looking after it, because it's not your town, but you're here doing a project, then it must be maintained. But and I thank yourself, Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, and certainly Ramesh, who has kind of taken the challenge to the county and saying, hey, this has to be addressed, and it was. So those opposed to this, Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens.
Sorry, I needed to unmute myself. I just wanted to ask the question of whether or not, and I apologize for putting Ramesh or Bill on the spot, but I know that they did come along and they have pulled some of the weeds. However, is this project already been accepted, or will it be next summer before it's accepted? Because I'm curious to see what's going to come up next spring.
Well, I will answer that, Mr. Mayor, if I can. So this is a county project, and I'm not exactly sure what their timeline is on accepting their work. But we won't have a say in that other than a complaint as a partner municipality. So Ramesh has been communicating our concerns regularly to the county and the county engineering department, and we will continue to do so with the passing of this resolution, or even without, because again, it's our community too. We take pride in this community, and we want to see that the level of service is maintained as well after a project proceeds as prior to a project. I
Perfect.
hope that
Thank you.
answers the question.
Thank you.
Could I ask council on whether it might not be let's I'm going to have this voted on and then make a comment if I could. Any further comment on the motion? Those opposed? This is carried. My comment is on whether council or administration might we might put something together for me to take to actually county council as far as a motion or as far as a comment to be able to say that we would like to see not only for our community but for all communities where the county does work that there's a little more care put towards the looks of the boulevards where they do construction, a little more concern be applied to it. Is that something that council would like to see me bring forward to county? Then I will do so. All right. Councilor Hughes, or did you?
I was just going to say it makes perfect sense because whether it was the weather this year or what it was, there just seemed to be a lot of that going on. I travel for business and I've seen a lot of different other construction companies, some where they were doing boulevard work and some of them, they were just like Bell Street. They were overgrown with weeds, just a terrible mess, just a horrible look coming into a municipality. And then there's other construction that was happening in a different municipality, but their boulevards were pristine. They looked great. And you driving into the municipality, it looked nice, well cared for. And it's just that perception of somebody's coming through for the first time and they see that, happening in a boulevard, they're going to be scratching their head saying, what have I come into here?
Good enough. Then on Thursday, because our meeting, county council meeting is moved to Thursday because of Remembrance Day, but I will make comment to full council on our thoughts on maintaining a good picture when they start doing road work in other communities. I guess right now we're going to go into closed. So can you bring us into closed? Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, the council do now go into closed meeting at 8:16 p.m. pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended to discuss the following matters. Section 232(2)B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Section 239(2)B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, boards, and committees. 3, section 239(2)D, labor relations or employee negotiations.
Could I have a seconder on this, please? Thank you very much, Councillor Petrie. Those opposed? This is carried. I guess we, Michael, now we all sign out and then we sign back in under the same connection. Okay. All right. I guess we will see all you folks in